itulah dekat dalam part of your calculation for your asset, and therefore wasted. So the keyword here wasted, and a further 50 million was incurred and a result of faulty design work. So this 25 million, which is 10 million, is counted as wasted, and you incur another 50 million to that. Okay, so these two is actually cannot be counted as part of your asset. As a result of these problems, work on the building ceased for a fortnight during October 2007. So they expected the time to build the building, it is from April to July 2008. But because of that problem, okay, they incur problem and then the building need to be stopped, constructed on October 2007, and because of that, okay, 9 million of the labor cost incurred. Gaji jalan juga, okay, tapi the building kena semalaman lah, tak buat on the October 2007 relate to this period. So this is again wasted. So the building was completed on 1st July 2008, okay, macam yang dia expected here, okay, and occupied on 1st September 2008. So you are required to calculate the cost of the building that will be included in tangible non-current assets addition. So how to calculate? Okay, like what you have, okay, only those costs which are directly attributable to bringing the asset into working condition for its intended use should be included. So like for example, tadi ada stamp fees and everything here, okay, must be included. Administration and other general overhead costs cannot be included. So you have here the general overheads, which is 30,000. And then what do you got next? Costs included should only be normal, not abnormal costs. So like the additional information here, we have the materials amount here, which is abnormal, and also on the labor cost should not be included then. And then the amount included in property, plant and equipment is computed as follows. So the purchase price of a land should be included, stamp duties, legal fees, the site preparation and clearance, the materials, okay, the cost of spoiled material and faulty design are abnormal costs, okay, so both of that should not be included. So that's why they jadi 75,000. 100,000 you should minus by 10,000, okay, for the material, and then on the further faulty design work 50 million, so altogether 25 million. So that's why they come up with 75,000 here, 100,000 minus by 25,000, 75,000. And for that labor, you have 150,000, you should minus by 9,000, okay. So this is again due to this material punya wasted. So that's why the 9 million labor cost incurred during the period of the stoppage is an abnormal cost and is excluded. Okay. So this is the things, and then you must also include architect fees, but not to include the general overheads. So this amount, okay, it is the cost of the building. So now the cost of the building is 519,000. Any question to that? Any question to that? So this is what you will do in your final exam later. Any question? Any question? You understand, eh? Jangan nanti bagi tutorial question. Okay, now we proceed next with the depreciation. Okay, depreciation, this is must and not much. Depreciation must be charged from the date the assets is available for use. Like for example, yang depreciation yang untuk assets ni, yang ni, as you can see, they occupied on 1st September. So we will calculate depreciation started from 1st September, even though they are completed on 1st July. So this is what they meant. In example, it is capable of operating in the manner intended by management. So this is when to calculate the depreciation. Masa you punya diploma level, you only learn on the amount of the asset dah bagi dah. You know about the methods of depreciation, the calculation, the straight line and so on. But now, during your degree level ni, you kena tahu when you want to start to calculate depreciation. Okay? Now, this may be earlier than the date it is actually brought into use. Okay, for example, when staff need to be trained to use it, this is talking about machine lah. Okay? Dia beli machine yang baru and then the staff dia beri masa sebulan untuk familiar with the operation of the machine. So even though the machine is not producing anything, only to train the staff, tapi you will start to calculate the depreciation on that date, on that part lagi. So depreciation is continued even the asset is ideal. So the depreciation method, as you all know, should reflect as fairly as possible the pattern in which the asset's economic benefits are consumed by the entity. So these are the possible methods. You can use straight line, reducing balance, or machine hours. This is talking about the machine lah. Okay, so when you want to choose a method, okay, that method chosen must be something that reflect maksudnya as a fairly possible pattern for the asset. Macam contoh, kalau asset tu machine, it is not logic for you to use straight line, okay, it will be better for you to use machine hours then, something like that. Okay, so this is what happened. You can also change from one method to the other method. Like for example, all this while you use straight line, but tiba-tiba for this accounting period, you nak tukar jadi reducing balance. You must disclose to the user, okay? So is permissible, okay, only on the grounds that the new method will give a fairer presentation of the results and of the financial position. So the word here, it is on the fair things, okay? So and does not constitute a change of accounting policy, okay, through fair view too, and then is a change in accounting estimate. We will go further with the accounting estimate later. Masa kita buat accounting standard lah dalam bulan ni, about 4 weeks, we will concentrate on this accounting standard. Now, the carrying amount should be written off over the remaining useful life. Okay, this is very similar to you. This is a straight line method. Commencing with the, I pun tak tahu macam mana nak buang these things. So, commencing with the period in which the change is made. So, the carrying amount should be written commencing with the period in which the change is made. Now, you can also make a revision on the useful life and residual values. Remember, we did this one when we go with our topic number, I can't remember topic number berapa, but then the topic on presentation of financial statement, yang mana tiba-tiba useful life dia bertukar. Before this, useful life dia 30 tahun, let's say. Tiba-tiba dia nak pendekkan useful life dia jadi 25 years. Ataupun, if you can still remember, dia nak naikkan, let's say, the useful life before this is divided by 10 years, tapi tiba-tiba dia nak tukarkan jadi 8 years or 15 years, okay? So, the useful life and residual value should be reviewed at the end of each reporting period and revised if expectations are significantly different from previous estimates, okay? So, like for example, waktu pandemik ni, macam sekarang ni kan, banyak company tutup, tak kerja, tak datang, banyak mesin tutup, let's say lah. Okay, so maybe they can review dia punya useful life. Okay, the carrying amount of the asset at the date of revision less any residual value should be depreciated over the revised remaining useful life. So this is what explains how to calculate masa you all buat topic number 2 tu. Example. Okay, this should remind you on the question yang kita buat dulu tu. An asset was purchased for 100,000 on 1st January 2005. Okay, look at on the date and on the amount. And straight line depreciation of 20,000 per annum is being charged. 5-year life, no residual value. So kalau kita tengok dekat sini, the normal calculation, it will be 100,000 divided by 5. Okay, where you should have 20,000 per annum as for the depreciation. Okay, and the annual, the useful life is 5 years. The annual review of asset lives is undertaken, and for this particular asset, the remaining useful life as at 1st January 2007 is 8 years. So dia dah guna for 2 years with the useful life of 5 years. But now, as at 1st January 2007, when they review the useful life, it is become 8 years. Maksudnya naik lah. Okay, from 5 year, the useful life jadi 8 years. The financial statement for the year ended 31st December 2007 are being prepared. What is the depreciation charge for the year ended 31st December 2007? This is something to do with the changes in estimate also. Tapi for the purpose of IAS 16, what you should calculate is what you learned before this. Okay. So from 2005, dia start beli asset tu 2005. Sampai 2007, maksudnya 2005, 2006, dia dah guna for 2 years. Okay, this is 2 years. The carrying value or the net book value of the asset is 60,000. So what you need to do is, because of the review, the useful life is 8 years. So you should have the 60,000 divided by the new useful life, which is 8 years. It is 7,500. So, what you should have here, 7,500 ni sekarang dah jadi depreciation for your asset. Okay, lain daripada yang dulu where you charge 20,000 per year. Any question class? Any question? Any question? No, senyap je ke ada yang dah tidur? Okay.
Ada.
Yes. Yes.
Yang 20% tu dia dapat macam mana?
20% tu bukan 20%. It is actually 100,000 divided by 5. Itu dapatlah 20%. Mathematics. Itu mathematics.
Oh, okay.
Mathematics, kalau you guna 100,000 divided by 5 years, kan dapat 20,000. Right? So it's very similar to 20%.
Oh, okay. Faham.
Okay, any question? Then, IAS 16, subsequent costs. Okay. Subsequent expenditure on property, plant and equipment should only be capitalized if it results in the total economic benefits expected from the asset. See the wording here, berapa yang kita nak capitalize, how much that we need to total up the cost of the asset of the PPE. Okay, so it will always look at on the total economic benefits that flow to the company. So if let's say there is inflow to the company expected from the asset, to increase above those expected on original recognition. In example, the cost of an extension to a building should be capitalized, as economic benefits will increase with greater space. In example, katalah dia sebelum ni ada sebuah factory only, but then because of the demand, okay, so they need to further up with another factory there. Ataupun dia kena besarkan sikit factory dia tu. So the cost of extension of the factory will be considered as a capital expenditure and therefore should be capitalized. Kat dalam ni. All other subsequent expenditure should be recognized in the income statement because it merely maintains the economic benefits originally expected. Example, cost of repairs. So, kalau cost of repairs, it will be different. The cost of repairs, it is not capital expenditure. It is revenue expenditure. Sebab dia repair. Okay? Kalau dia extend, it is different. Extension, it will go, you need to capitalize the amount. But if it's repair, then you should not capitalize the amount, but then you should charge it to your SOCI as a revenue expenditure. Okay? Now, let us look at here. A piece of machinery has an annual service. You have to understand this one, because later you akan ada question, and then you need to identify yang mana satu capital expenditure, yang mana satu revenue expenditure. A piece of machinery has an annual service. Wait, Okay, a piece of machinery has an annual service costing 10,000. So this is annual service costing 10,000. During the most recent service, it has decided to replace part of the engineering, meaning that it will work faster. So this is the decision made by the business. Dia nak tukar lah part of it. Macam kita punya laptop, okay, kita nak tukar something, okay, that should be work faster and so on, and then produce more units of product per hour. The cost of the replacement is 20,000. So you need to look at this one. This is annual service. And then this is an extension to the machine. Would this expenditure be treated as a capital or revenue expenditure? On the extension thing here, it should be capitalized. But on the annual service, it should be charged to your SOCI because this is annual service. So meaning every year you need to service the machine. So 10,000 revenue expenditure, revenue expense written off to the income statement, while 20,000 capital expense as it enhances future economic benefits. So kalau you tak buka 20,000, the machine will not work faster. Okay? Then therefore you cannot produce more product. So that's why you are to charge the 20,000 here. So this will increases the cost of non-current asset in the soft P. So you have to add this one to the capital to your cost of your asset. This is talking about revenue and also revenue expenditure and also capital expenditure. Any question? Any question? Any question, class?
No, I don't.
Now, remember last time I mentioned to you in IAS 16 you have two models. One, it is cost model, and the other one is it is revaluation model. Now, what does it mean by these two models? Cost model, you have cost less accumulated depreciation and any impairment losses to the asset. Revaluation model, you have the revaluation amount, in example, the fair value at the date of revaluation, okay, less subsequent accumulated depreciation and impairment losses. This is all under IAS 16. Yeah? So, siapa yang revalue the asset? Fair value as per the PPE. Okay. So, land and buildings, the market value, siapa yang value? When you want to revalue the asset for land and buildings, you need to have experts from the market, professional valuers lah. That's why you nampak banyak real estate managers tu. This is their jobs. They are to value the land and buildings. Plant and equipment, kita akan tengok market value. Okay, let's say for the asset and for the machine. Berapa machine ni value dia? Macam contoh kalau Adobe kan, dia ada jual machine, washing machine tu. Berapa value of the washing machine in the market? And then no market value, Kalau aset tu lah, dia tak ada market value. Dia market based evidence, so specialized, no market value available and rarely sold. Okay, ini for other than plant and equipment and then buildings. So kita akan tengok depreciated replacement cost approach. So maybe lambatnya Arish masuk. So maybe we will look at on the replacement cost approach ni lah, depreciated replacement cost. Okay. Now let us look at on the revaluation model. Ini pun you dah pernah buat, cuma this is an explanation to you again. If the revaluation alternative is adopted, two conditions must be complied with. Scope, all assets in the same class must be revalued if one item within the class has been revalued. So katalah you want to revalue only one machine, you cannot do that. You have to revalue all the same kind of machinery. Okay. Frequency, sufficient regularity to ensure carrying value does not differ materially from fair value at each reporting date. For example, balance sheet date. So meaning you have to how frequent you want to revalue. Okay. In example, they're referring to the balance sheet date, meaning referring to the financial statement date of your asset. So this is what you dah buat dah benda ni dulu, revaluation. So kalau upward meaning you have revaluation gain, okay, what you should have, okay, you should debited PPE. Why? Because your asset is increased, okay, and then you credit revaluation reserve, and therefore reported in other comprehensive income. So ini remember, ini yang kita buat dalam IAS 2, presentation of financial statement, IAS 2 ke IAS 1, yang at the bottom of the statement of comprehensive income tu, you ada revaluation gain. So where you charge to your comprehensive income. Okay. This is when you have revaluation loss, first to revaluation reserve relating to the asset and therefore reported in other comprehensive income, then to profit and loss because of dia ada loss. So the PPE is reduced, the amount of the PPE is reduced because of the revaluation amount is decreased, and then you need to debit revaluation reserve, okay, and then the different to this, okay, this is what we call as the balancing figure, and the balancing figure should be charged to your SOCI, okay, as loss on revaluation. Okay. Okay, how to depreciate for the revalued asset? Ini pun you dah pernah cuba attempted this question. Once an asset has been revalued, the following statement is required. The depreciation must be charged based on valuation, new valuation lah, less residual value over remaining useful life. Okay. The whole charge must go to the income statement for the year. This is talking about the depreciation, number 2. An annual reserve transfer may be made, revaluation reserve to retained earnings, for extra depreciation on the revalued amount compared to cost, measured as the difference between depreciation charge based on revalued amount and discharge based on historic cost. So this is talking about the reserve, the amount of the reserve. Ada orang tanya hari tu, I tak ingat section mana, about the assignment and about the reserve. So this is talking about the reserve. Okay. Revaluation reserve may be transferred to retained earnings. Okay. For extra depreciation on the revalued amount compared measured. So this is talking about the difference dalam depreciation dia. Transfer disclosed in the SOCI. Ini dia akan letakkan dalam SOCI. Okay. So macam mana, okay, depreciation charge to the revalued asset, the debit the income statement, SOCI, okay, on the depreciation charge, and then credit accumulated depreciation. Then when you want to transfer the revaluation reserve, kan tadi kalau revaluation gain, you credited the revaluation reserve. Now you want to transfer the revaluation reserve. So depreciation on valuation minus depreciation on original cost, okay, So you debited revaluation reserve and then credited the retained earnings. So you transfer the amount. This one, when you have this one, an annual ni, you dah kira dah depreciation untuk aset yang lama sebelum revaluation. Then when asset baru for revaluation, then you take the difference, then you transfer the difference here. This one should be shown in your Sochi. Okay? Any question? Question class? Dan ni pun you pernah buat. Company X revalues its buildings and decides to incorporate the revaluation into its financial statements. The buildings it currently is at 1st January 2008 in the SOPI at 105 million. However, its market value is 1.4 million. So this is dated on 1st January. Its useful life is 40 years at that date. Show the relevant journal. You can see here there is a revaluation gain here. How much? You should have the amount on the market value, on the new value, minus with the old amount, okay, which is 1056. Therefore, you will get 344. So meaning this 344 is the added amount to the PPE, so debited PPE, credit revaluation reserve. Okay. Dalam SOPI, this will be shown as this one, the new amount, okay. And then this is the new depreciation. Macam mana dia dapat new depreciation? Okay, so you will have 1.4 million, okay, divided by 40 years, where you should have 35,000 for the depreciation, and this is the net value. Equity section of SOPI, you have 344 here. And then in the Sochi, you will charge depreciation to the new amount of the asset, 35,000. Ini you all dah buat. Okay. So general depreciation calculation, ini yang kita pernah buat biasa. Cost minus cost ataupun revalued amount must be less with residual value, allocated on a systematic basis over its useful life. So this is straight line macam biasa. Each part of an item of PPE with a significant cost is depreciated separately. Example, aeroplane. Now, there is something dalam satu-satu company, satu-satu business area, okay, kita consider that asset is a special asset ataupun we call it as a complex asset. In example, aeroplane. Dia kan besar macam Boeing tu kan? Dia besar. Also known as a complex asset. So for this complex asset, useful life, residual value and depreciation method must be reviewed at least at each year end. Dia kena tahulah and adjusted when necessary. I read somewhere kan, Sriwijaya punya plane yang jatuh tu, dia dah terlampau lama kan, maybe more than dia punya useful life, okay, 27 years kalau tak silap I pun tak tahu berapa tahun selalunya useful life of the asset of the plane, okay, aeroplane tu. So that's why it is important for the asset revaluer. So selain daripada you all ni jadi accountant and so on, you can also become a fixed asset ataupun a non-current asset punya executive tau. So non-current assets executive, their work, their duty is actually to look at on the useful life of the asset, on the revaluation of the asset and so on. So that's why they have to each year, okay, dia kena look at the useful life of the asset. Tapi macam I kata tadi lah, to confirm with the asset, kalau land, building and so on tu yang ni lah. Okay, you have to have the professional valuer, you have to have the market value and so on. Okay, so that's why this is the things that you need to do. Okay, so this is the complex asset. Dia namakan complex asset kenapa? Disebabkan each of the component here, okay, dia ada separate punya calculation. Contoh kan, airframe dia ni, useful life dia 20 years. Mungkin dia boleh hidup sampai 20 tahun lah. Airframe dia saja, sayap dia ni lah. Untuk seating, depreciate over 8 years. Seating ni. Bermaksud sampai ke 8 tahun, it must be scrap off. Okay? It must be scrap off. Kalau untuk engines, it must depreciate over 6 years. You see? Over 6 years. Kata contoh ini contoh lah, I tak tahu slide ni betul ataupun tidak but according to the Sriwijaya yang kita baca tu, dia kata the plane tu sendiri is 27 years. Okay? So you have to look at on these things lah. Yeah? So disclosure notes, reconciliation between opening and closing balances for the year of each item of property, plant and equipment. So this one is actually on the statement, on the notes to the accounts. If you open up you punya any company punya financial statement or annual report, you can see that they have one statement special ataupun one notes special for the dia punya property, plant and equipment. Okay, so very interesting for you to look at on those things. So dalam statement tu dia akan tunjuk opening net book value breakdown, cost, impairment losses, closing net book value. So in between tu dia akan tunjuk apa to that. This is very very important. Okay.
No, madam.
So no, if no, then can I break for 5 minutes? I dah cakap lama dah ni. So I break for 5 minutes dulu before I continue with the next slide. Okay? Okay. Makan ni je lah dulu. Teruk lah rumah ni. Kena pasang ni. Kejap sana, kejap sini. Dia tak jadi macam rumah. Dia macam kanan kucing tu tak? Kau ni. Punca dia kau daripada dulu lagi. Daripada dulu lagi memang kau punca dia. Yang betul lah dia kena pukul dengan aku. Siapa tu? Dan tadi nanya orang tak lah. Dia ni keluar lah. Bila keluar kan dia jahanam tadi pula. Baka lah.
Belakangan aku boleh jalan. Baik. Berapa roti, berapa? Apa gorengan?
Tengok banyak pun nampak tak? Mari nampak apa? Mari masak goreng. Masak jahanam.
Dan dia pun buka pasal.
Saya nak pasal kan.
Sotong ada berdua.
Tak tunjuk pasal.
Sotong pun. Sotong.
Tengok dia tak orang. Tak ingat kan nak buat nasi goreng yang ni.
Tu boleh. Tu sotong pun.
Nah, ada cakap udang kering tak ada.
Sotong pun.
Sabar. Betul buat telur cili tu.
Sotong pun.
Petang masak tu ada ikan bawal masak dasi.
Betul. Dua paket. Takkan tak pakai sotong pun.
Makan dulu, saya simpan dulu. Sotong tak ada buat. Ibu nak buat tu dia nak.
Bukan boleh tu. Tahuan tu boleh tak?
Ibu tu duduk di bawah tu tak nak.
Belakang ni abang ada beli lah.
Beli fish cake pun dengan
Dalam suku lah.
bukan orang lain.
Lain je lah.
Sekarang tak lagi.
Apa dia nak?
Jadi sejam belum.
Kalau nak buat ratu itu, tak payah buat nasi goreng. Dia boleh kering je.
Kena lah
Atau
buat.
nasi goreng kan?
Benda tu harus digoreng lah. Sikit.
Dia bulan tu kan? Tak betul. Ya Allah.
Dah ada.
Orang dah pergi
Jangan tu alik kau PCS.
Dia tak lama tak suara.
Kan nak tengok barang-barang.
Kau pergi kan? Beli ya? Beli ke? Tadi tak betul.
Ada suara rasa bunyi kau. Betul kita dalam bunyi kau tu. Benda mana? Dia mendengarnya. Ada di apa ya? Semua. Semua. Hah?
Ini bagus. Ada orang.
Semua. Semua. Iya, semua. Ya, semua. Tengok tu, Pak. Tengok tu. Semua.
Dia buka mana entah.
Semua. Mana takut. Apa dia buat? Apa?
Mana adik kau tu dah tengok nanti dia dia murah dia boleh kan? Adik kata dia buat orang dia. Mana apa kat dalam tu ada
Betul tak ada nak? Dia kan dia tahu dia.
Ya. Tapi kan gunakan tidak orang. Dia buat dia pun tak ada.
Oh. Masak dah lah.
Apa nak beli makanan dulu kan?
Makanan tak ikan kan nak lah. Makanan beli roti lah kat tu lagi. Roti yang malam.
Dekat sini lah, dekat tu, di sini kan tu tu. Ini goreng.
Ni goreng lagi ni. Kau mana kau nak kurus?
Selalu tu.
Kurus apa benda?
Tak apalah beli kan. Beli dulu kan.
Assalamualaikum. Assalamualaikum.
Waalaikumsalam, Madam.
Okay. Are you ready for the next faham ayat 16?
Faham.
Faham. Good. Very interesting kan? Barulah you all tahu how is it actually to total up the assets and so on. Now, let us look at on topic number 4. IAS 40, IAS 20, and also IAS 23. Are you ready?
Yes, madam.
Okay,
Yes,
now.
madam.
Remember, in my slide here, okay, I did mention about the IAS 40 here. Okay, it is considered as an asset, but we classify it as investment property. Kenapa? Okay, so why? So we need to look at further on this. Okay, these things. Remember, when you want to classify the definition of non-current asset is divided into 3, IAS 38, IAS 16, and also IAS 40. So remember, this must be met. There is probable inflow to the asset from the asset, and you can measure, okay, you can estimate the asset, the cost, the value of the asset. So for the investment properties, it is something that the asset can be controlled by the entity as a result of past event, meaning dia beli dulu, from which it can bring future economic benefits, expected to flow to the entity. And then the non-current asset, you have the definition above here, and is expected to be used during more than one accounting period. This is for the tangible asset, non-current asset. And then kalau tangible non-current asset, they have physical substance. Intangible non-current assets without physical substance, but they satisfy on these two definitions. And for the investment properties, the business purchase their properties for the purpose of the, rentals, okay, or capital appreciations, not for the use of production. Maksudnya dia tak guna to produce anything. They are not supplying or are not for the admin purpose. Okay. IS property. IS 40 investment properties. Ini pun you all dah buat dah dulu. Masa kita buat topik on presentation of financial statement. But I did not explain because I want to explain it here. Now, investment property is property, okay? Land or buildings or part of both held by the owner to earn rentals or for capital appreciation or both. So the purpose of purchasing this property, acquiring this property, it is the purpose for rental. Dia tak guna untuk dia punya company, tapi dia rent it to others. Okay? Rather than for use in the entity. See, they are not using it for their entity. And dia pun tak jual in the sale of ordinary course of business. Maksudnya dia bukan jual tanah. Dia bukan jual rumah. Kalau dia jual tanah atau jual rumah, itu dah jadi dia punya inventory. So when you read the question, you have to make sure you kena faham dulu question tu. Apa business, type of business of that question. Macam question on accounting ratio that yang kita try together that I mentioned to you. Dia mesti bagi tahu apa dia punya question dia jual apa. So, a property cannot be considered an investment property if it is being used by the owner themselves. Okay? So kalau dia duduk dekat dalam tu, in example, owner occupied property is excluded from the definition of investment property. Macam I dah sekarang ni, I tak adalah business, tapi rumah yang I duduk sekarang ni, it's my house. I guna rumah ni. This one is not investment. This is my house. Okay, similar to your parents. Your parents duduk rumah tu, because of dia duduk rumah tu, that one is not investment property. That one is considered as IAS 16. Property dia sendiri. But let's say if your parents ada satu buah rumah lain lagi. But satu buah rumah lain tu dia sewa kepada orang lain. So dia hanya collect sewa sahaja. So rumah yang dia beli satu lagi itu, it is considered as investment property. Do you understand what I'm saying here? You understand what I'm saying here, class? Okay. Now, example of investment property, land. Land held for long-term capital appreciation. Kalau you tengok kan, I tak tahulah you all tinggal kat mana kan. You all pun tak balik-balik Bani. Tapi kalau you, as long as you go around kawasan-kawasan kampung ataupun macam area dekat rumah I ni, I live in Kajang. So I selalu used to go to Hulu Langat tu. There ada land for rent and so on. So maybe the owner of the land yang dia nak suruh land for rent tu, sewa tanah tu. So that one is considered as example of investment property. That one to the owner lah. Yang kita yang rent ni, kita kalau kita sewa, to us kita menyewa lah. But to the owner, it is considered as investment property. Dia beli land tu, tapi dia sewakan pada orang. Rather than for short term sale in the ordinary course of business. So dia tak jual. Okay. A building owned by the reporting entity and leased out under an operating lease. So ini dia beli dia beli building, okay. But then dia sewa pajak pada orang lain. Okay. In example, kalau tengok ada building baru yang jual tu, yang buat offices, dia akan cakap sewa office contohnya. So that will be the things. Now the next one is a building held by parent and lease to a subsidiary. You learn, right, on the parent and subsidiary ni, belajar kan? Holdings, parent dengan subsidiary, belajar kan? Have you learned on this part? Class?
Belajar.
No? So you are the parent, which is holding, and you are the subsidiary. So this holding parent ni, parent company ni, dia sewakan ataupun dia sewa pajak kepada the subsidiary. So while this is regarded as an investment property in the individual parent company financial statement, jadi disebabkan dia sewa pajak dalam account parent, in the parent's account, in the holdings account, the building is considered as investment property. Dalam parent's punya account. But in the consolidated account, remember consolidated is where you have to consolidate the parent punya account together with the subsidiary account. Then they consolidate. Bila dia consolidate, then it is dia regardkan that building as an owner occupied. And then therefore it will be treated as IAS 16. Tapi kalau dalam company parent tu, bila dia bagi building tu sewakan kepada subsidiary in the account of the parent, it is investment property. But when they consolidate, it becomes IAS 16. Okay? Okay, class?
Okay, madam.
Now, how to recognize? How to recognize that that is investment property? It is probable that the future economic benefits that are attributable to the investment property will flow to the entity. So this is an investment property. Ini memang satisfy the recognition lah. The cost of the investment property can be measured reliably. So this one on the recognition part, you must go back to the recognition and classification number 3 here. Okay? Then kemudian lah ni. You have the screen kan dengan I kan? Plus?
Yes, madam.
Yes, madam.
Now, how to measure the investment property when you recognize it? How to recognize? You dah tahu dah. This is the recognition criteria number 1 and number 2. And how to measure? They measured initially at cost. Dia measured initially at cost. Macam mana? Purchase properties. Sama lah macam tadi tu. Cost, purchase price plus any directly attributable expenditure. Example, legal fees, property transfer taxes. So this is number 1. If it's purchase properties. Kalau dia self-constructed investment properties, cost, the cost at the date when the construction or development is complete. So yang ni kita kena apply IAS 16 during construction. Yang macam kita buat tadi soalan yang ada materials wasted tadi tu. Okay? So this is how to measure. So measurement after recognition, IAS 40 gives a choice between a fair value model or a cost model. So there is a choice antara dua ni. Dalam soalan you guna fair value model. Okay. Kalau fair value model, the assets is revalued to fair value at the end of the reporting period with gains, losses shown directly in the income statement. So on the fair value, what happened at the end of the year, okay, at the end of the accounting period, the asset will be under IAS 40, the asset will be revalued at the amount, dia tengok berapa harga asset at the end of the reporting period. And then dia akan tengok sama ada there is an increase to the value or loss to the value. So kalau loss or dalam income statement. And then you will not calculate the investment property, or you will not calculate depreciation for the investment property. So fair value is normally established by reference to the current prices on an active market. So ini the fair value lah, siapa yang value the asset yang macam I tunjuk hari tu, yang slide tadi, professional valuers, okay, the real estate management and so on. So the cost model as per IAS 16, in example, cost less accumulated depreciation and impairment losses. Okay, note, the policy selected by the entity should be applied to all of its investment property. So you have two choices here, sama ada you nak guna fair value model ataupun cost model. Kalau you guna cost model, then you have to use, like for example, sama macam IAS 16 tu, ada accumulated depreciation and so on. But as we prepared before this, we attempted question, kita guna fair value model yang ni. But if let's say untuk satu investment asset tu you dah choose fair value model, then you have to gunakan fair value model lah untuk aset-aset investment property yang lain. Kalau you dah choose cost model, then it is the cost model. Okay. Cost model in detail. The cost model is the benchmark treatment per IAS 16. Kalau cost model, you have to apply sama macam IAS 16. So investment property tu they measured and depreciated less any accumulated impairment losses. An entity that chooses the cost model should disclose the fair value of its investment properties. Okay, you kena bagi tahu lah how much is the fair value, maybe to the notes to the accounts. Once the entity has chosen the fair value or cost model, it should apply it to all investment properties. So ini macam yang note tadi tu. Okay, it must not change from one model to the other unless the change will result in a more appropriate presentation. So IAS 40 states that it is highly unlikely that a change from fair value to cost will result in a more suitable presentation. Okay, so that's why dia bagi tahu here. So to change, tak boleh lah suka-suka. This year you guna cost model, next year you guna fair value, and then the next year tu you guna cost model pula. If you choose one model, then you have to choose to use that model sampai bila. In rare cases where the entity cannot determine the fair value of an investment property reliably, the cost model in IAS 16 must be applied. So kalau investment property tu, you cannot find out the fair value punya amount on the investment property, then you must apply IAS 16. Okay, so ini bukan investment properties. Number one, property intended for sale in the ordinary course of business. Ada business tu dia memang jual beli tanah ataupun jual beli rumah. So bila dia jual beli tanah dan jual beli rumah, that one is IAS 2 inventories. Okay. Property being constructed or developed on behalf of third parties, dia kerja construction. The business is construction business. So again, it is not investment properties. It is IAS 11 construction contracts. Number 3, it is owner occupied property. So this is IAS 16. Dia gunakan dia punya property. Any question? Any question, class? Any question? Okay. This is what we did during our presentation of financial statement dulu. Blake, a manufacturing company, purchases a property for 1 million on 1st January 2011 for its investment potential. The land element of the cost is 40,000 and the building element is expected to have a useful life of 50 years. Bear in your mind, land is not depreciated. Building depreciate. So kalau land 400,000, how much is the building? The property is 1 million. Kalau land 400,000, the building is how much?
600.
600,000. And the building ada expected useful life 50 years. At 31st December 2001, local property prices suggest that the fair value of the property has risen to 1.1 million. So kalau dalam soalan yang pernah kita try before this, okay, we attempted the question before this. Okay, the value of the property yang increase to 1.1 million must be minus with the value of the amount, which is 1 million. The difference, which is 100,000, should be charged as an income, okay, as an income to the company. Itu fair value model. Kalau cost model, macam mana pula untuk investment properties? It will be this one. So depreciation in the year is 12,000. Macam mana dapat 12,000? 400,000 divided by 50 years. Sorry, 600,000 tadi building divided by 50 years. So dapat 12,000. In the income statement, you have depreciation 12,000. In the financial statement, in the financial position, 1 million, you need to minus by 12,000. Ini lebih kurang sama dengan IAS 16, the normal non-current asset. Okay. Okay, so in the statement of financial position, the property will show, ni samalah lebih kurang macam IAS 16. On the fair value model, this is what we tried before this. We attempted the question here. So the 0.1 million ni, which is 100,000, will be in your income statement. Okay, and then you do not have to calculate depreciation. So all this while we apply this fair value model in our question. Okay. Nicholas, any question?
No, madam.
IAS 20, government grants. Remember, dulu I pernah mention juga, when I explain to you, I am talking about government grants. Now you can see that government grants, nanti I will come back to here kalau you tak faham lah. But for now, I want you to understand on the IAS 16 and IAS 40. But this is only an introduction to you. Government grants, here, it is governments provide money or incentive to companies to export or promote local employment. Okay, hold on a second. So government grant, ni macam yang sekarang ni kalau you tengok PM announces more grants to the public, to the companies, more grants ini, grant itu and so on. So government grants ni could be revenue grants, example money towards wages, macam contoh hari tu SLIM, remember? Hari tu masa PM Najib kita dia offer SLIM. Apa nama SLIM tu? Skim latihan apalah for employment kan. So mana-mana company yang nak ambil fresh graduates kerja. And then you have capital grants. Capital grants ni example money towards purchase of non-current asset. This is example of company yang capital grants ni. Company yang government bagi grants to them and then dia purchase machine, okay, untuk produce more with the help of the company, with the help of the government lah. So that is on the government grants. So for IAS 20, there follows two general principles, prudence and also accruals. Prudence macam mana? The grants should not be recognized until the condition for receipt. Maksudnya kita dapat, we have received the grant, okay, with the reasonable assurance that the grant will be received and that is reasonable. And then accruals ni you must remember there must be a match revenue dengan expenditure. So meaning when you receive the grant, it can be matched with the expenditure. So when it satisfies these two principles, then it can be categorized as IS20. Now, revenue grant. Ini wages kan, money towards wages. Recognition of the grant will depend upon the circumstances. If the grant is paid when evidence is produced that certain expenditure has been incurred, okay, this is how to recognize the revenue grants, and the grants should be matched with that expenditure. So in order for you to get the grant, okay, there is an evidence that the expenditure has been incurred before this. If the grant is paid on different basis, example, achievement of a non-financial objective, such as the creation of a specified number of new jobs. Macam contoh SLIM lah hari tu. Okay? The grant should be matched with the identifiable cost of achieving that objective. So maybe government, they want to reduce the employment rate, so they created the SLIM project hari tu. So all the fresh graduate masuk kerja, and then company bagi revenue grant to the government bagi revenue grant to the companies for them to hire these fresh graduates and so on. Okay, contoh lah, I bagi tahu contoh. Presentation of revenue grants, IS20 allows such grants to either be presented as a credit in the income statement or deducted from the related expenses. So ada dua cara. Okay. Capital grants pula, IS20 permits two treatments. On recognition, deduct the grant from the cost of the non-current asset and depreciate the reduced cost. So you beli mesin tapi you dapat duit daripada government tau. So berapa duit yang you dapat daripada government tu, the business kena tolakkan, and then the amount yang dah tolak tadi tu will be depreciated. Or dia akan recognize the grant sebagai deferred income, masukkan dalam liability, and then transfer the portion to the income statement. Okay? Over the expected useful life of the related asset. So yang ni different. Where grant tu dia akan letak dekat bahagian liability, and dia akan amortize it according to the useful life of the asset. Okay? Ini cerita dia. So both treatments are equally acceptable and capable of giving a fair presentation. So the choice of these treatments depends on the company lah. Okay? So how? Capital grants. An entity opens a new factory and receive a government grant of 15,000. See, dia company government tu approve untuk dia buat factory. I bagi tahu contoh macam AirAsia lah. Government approve, ini contoh contoh tak ada kena-mengena dengan hidup atau mati. Government approve Tony Fernandez and the team untuk buat AirAsia, kata contoh lah. And then government bagi dia grant untuk purchase asset kapal-kapal terbang dia, kata contoh. So similar goes to this one. Dia ada new factory and then they receive grant from government 15,000. Macam katalah contoh sekarang ni, tiba-tiba suddenly up one business yang dia specialize untuk produce more PPE punya equipment, mask lah, apa ke benda lah. So government approve untuk one company ni, one factory ni dibuka. Okay. Then what happened? Okay, what happened? This company, government bagi dia grant untuk beli mesin, mungkin sedikit lah duit dia. And then yang lain tu dia kena bayar sendiri, kata contoh. In respect of capital equipment costing 100,000. So it depreciate all plant and machinery at 20% per annum straight line. So kalau you tengok, dia ada two choices here. So let us look at on one choices dulu. Statement. Yang ni deduct from asset. So the non-current asset tadi 100,000. Dia dapat grant 15,000. So dia minuskan dulu 85,000. So depreciation dia 20%. Ni 20% as per straight line method. So 20% multiplied by 85, 17,000. So the cost of the asset is actually 85,000. So ini method number 1. Method number 2, dia akan letakkan the grant which is 15,000. Okay, dia akan letakkan the grant which is 15,000 sebagai deferred income. As for the first year, dia akan kalikan dengan depreciation amount ni, 20%. So this is considered as an income to the company. So that's why they put it in a bracket here. Depreciation will be charged to the full amount of the asset, which is 100,000, 20,000 here. So the depreciation pun akan jadi macam ni. So it is up to the business on which method yang dia nak guna. This one also a very familiar, I can say come more than one time lah dalam final exam. Okay. Ini problem dia. Recognizing a government grant as deferred income. Okay. Yang ni. Dia kata yang ni lah. Ya. As per IAS 20 does not meet the definition of a liability in the IASB framework. Kalau asset tadi, the definition is a probable income inflow to the company. Tapi dalam liability, dia punya framework kata it is a probable outflow of economic benefit. Tapi government grant, ini adalah deferred income, kita terima duit. Okay? Tapi kita terima duit ni kita terima bukan outflow. You understand? This is not true for grant as under normal circumstances, the grant will not have to be repaid. The outflow is not probable and so a liability does not exist. So dia kata according to the framework IAS 20 ni, dia tak suggest for you to apply this one. Okay. So itu maksud dia. Nanti we will go further with the capital liability. Okay. So this is IAS 37. Okay, I want you to read this one first and then tell me what is it. Okay. Okay, do you understand what does it mean by IAS 37 class? Faham tak? What does it mean by this one? Can you tell me? IJ yang bercakap ni? No? No?
Tak faham lah.
Okay, it is like this. Untuk definition of asset, okay, for definition of asset, dia adalah probable inflow to the company, to the business. But for liability, the framework stated that it is a probable outflow of economic benefit. Maksudnya untuk liability, like for example creditor, you beli barang daripada accounts payable and then you pay, meaning you ada outflow, duit you kena keluar untuk pay the accounts payable. So the framework will not allow the grant to be as a liability. Now, because of this thing, okay, the government grant ni as an income. So method number 2 kata dia letakkan government grant ni sebagai deferred income dekat dalam liability. So meaning dia dah violates the definition of liability. So for further definition of liability, it is under IAS 37 yang cerita pasal uncertain future event. Ini nanti later I will tell you also. But ada contingent liability. Contingent liability tu I hope that you understand. Contingent liability ni is some kind of liability yang kita prepare if let's say there is emergency case. Like example, kita prepare for provision for doubtful debts. Kita maybe there will be some kind of from the total amount of account receivable, ada debtor yang tak akan bayar, kata contoh. However, it is up to the company. So meaning dia tak satisfy definition of liability. Okay. Dia tak satisfy pun definition of liability. Tapi dia satisfy definition of dia satisfy definition liability for method number 2, and also dia tak satisfy definition of IAS 37. Okay, so it will be better for method number 1. Okay, now we further up with the IAS 23. I hope that you understand. Faham ya? Borrowing cost directly relate to the acquisition. Okay, dia pinjam duit, macam I cerita, dia pinjam duit to purchase asset. Okay, acquisition, construction or production of a qualifying asset must be capitalized as part of the cost of the asset. Okay, because of dia purchase asset, okay, and then dia pinjam duit untuk purchase asset, duit pinjam tu must be capitalized as part of the cost of the asset. Ini according to the IAS 23. Tapi the part here, the main word here is the qualifying asset. What does it mean by qualifying asset? The qualifying asset is an asset that necessarily takes a substantial period of time to be ready for its intended use or sale. So meaning qualifying asset ni adalah aset yang untuk kita gunakan ataupun kita nak jual later. So that one should be capitalized. Contoh ada 2 funds. Satu, funds borrowed specifically for qualifying asset. Dia pinjam duit tu untuk qualifying asset, untuk asset tu saja. So kita capitalize actual borrowing cost, incurred less investment income on temporary investment fund. Tapi kalau dia funds borrowed generally, kita tak tahu, dia pinjam duit tapi bukannya pinjam duit just for that asset saja. So kalau itu, you kena weighted average cost. Okay, you kena asingkan, kena kira. So the amount capitalized should not exceed total borrowing cost incurred in the period. Later we will come back to this question. Commencement of capitalization begins with all three of the following criteria. Expenditure for the assets are being incurred, borrowing costs are being incurred, activities that are necessary to prepare the asset for its intended use or sales are in progress. So you must satisfy these three criteria. Capitalization should be suspended if, let's say, construction is interrupted. Capitalization you should not capitalize also kalau activities of the asset to prepare the qualifying asset dah complete. Maksudnya asset tu dah ready to be sold. Okay, this is the example. On 1st January 20X5, Company X began to construct a supermarket which had an estimated useful life of 40 years. So this is the useful life of the supermarket. It purchased a leasehold interest in the site for 25 million. So this is the leasehold. The construction of the building cost 9 million and the fixtures and fittings cost 6 million. So ini 25 million is the site. The construction of the supermarket was completed on 30th September 2005. This is 1st January and this is 30th September. And it was brought into use on 1st January 20. Okay, on 1st January 2006. Company X borrowed 40 million on 1st January 20X5. So, for the purpose to construct the supermarket, dia borrow money 40 million. Untuk beli semua ni lah. In order to finance this project, the loan carried interest at 10% per annum. It was repaid on 30th June, lebih daripada 1 tahun lah. So calculate the total amount to be included in the cost of the property. Ini macam IAS 16 tadilah. So you are the one who need to calculate and you kena masukkan the cost of the borrowing dekat dalam the cost of the asset. So how? So leasehold interest tadi tu dalam site dia ada 25 million. Building dia 9,000. This one is the building. And then fittings dia is 6,000. Now interest dia you kena capitalizekan kerana apa? Kerana dia dia pinjam duit tu on 1st January 2005. But then September supermarket tu dah complete. So from January to September it is 9 months. So the amount of the interest ni yang you kena charge kan ataupun you kena capitalize kan as the cost of the asset. So the property, plant of equipment, asset yang. So this is the IAS 23. Yang 3 ni it is IAS 16. That's why I need to include for you to calculate later. So only 9 months interest can be capitalized because IAS 23 states that capitalization of borrowing costs must cease substantially all the activities necessary to prepare the assets for its intended use or sale or complete. Now, walaupun the asset, the borrowing cost finish at sampai 30 Jun 20XX, but the thing is, okay, but the thing is dia punya supermarket tu dah completed September 20X5. So that's why you kena prorate kan dia jadi 9/12 here. Okay. So for pro and cons of capitalization. Okay. Kalau you capitalize, borrowing cost ni dah jadi part of the total cost. Okay. You capitalize, borrowing cost ni, the interest ni dah jadi part of your capitalize. Dah jadi part of your asset. Tapi finance cost may not be direct, may relate to the business as a whole, may not attributable to just one asset. Okay, apa yang dia maksudkan kat sini, okay, the cost is actually dia pinjam duit 40 million ni bukanlah untuk aset ni sahaja mungkin, okay, mungkin untuk purpose yang lain. So it cannot be justified for this asset only. So ini dia punya against for this one. And then greater comparability between companies if they all apply the same approach. Okay, macam you punya accounting ratio. Ini pun bolehlah jadi you punya limitation to your accounting ratio in your assignment. Okay, greater comparability between companies. Kita tak tahu companies guna approach yang mana satu. It is too many approach. Dalam hari ni je, you dah belajar IAS 16, IAS 40, 20, 23. You nampak there are many two choices. So the company also tak disclose dia guna choice yang mana and so on. So greater comparability lah, okay, between companies. But again, lack of comparability. Okay, kenapa? Loan back companies will have higher value assets. Ada setengah company dia depending on loan. Okay, contohnya dia nak beli aset yang besar-besar, mesin yang besar-besar. Jadi untuk beli aset yang besar-besar, mesin besar-besar ni, dia kena pinjam loan. Okay, jadi dia kena ada banyak interest. Tapi company yang dia bukannya bergantung kepada loan, remember, dalam satu company, dia depending on equity ataupun loan. Okay, untuk calculate risk, gearing risk. Okay, so kalau company tu depending on equity, so dia tak ada banyak loan and then tak masuk lah. Jadi tak masuk lah part of the calculation of the asset. Lagi sekali, you cannot compare. Do you understand what I'm saying here? You understand class? Saya dah guna ayat bahasa Melayu dah ni. So IAS 23 ni disclosure dia on the accounting policy, amount of borrowing cost capitalized during the period. So ini dia kena cakap dalam notes to the accounts. Capitalization rate used to determine the amount of borrowing cost eligible for capitalization. So this is talking about IAS 23. Okay, is that okay? Okay class?
Okay, madam.
Yes, madam.
Okay, so because of that's okay, then I want you to answer question on question only IAS 16 and 40 and also on additional question IAS 16 and IAS 40. Okay, for your tutorial tomorrow. Can you do that?
Yes, madam.
Can you do that? Okay, good. So I think that's all for now. I hope that you have already fill up the apa nama tu? Fill up your attendance form. I will see you tomorrow then. Thank you. Assalamualaikum.
Thank you, madam.
Thank you, madam.